Today we're going to be talking about a different technique for a dash lift or a dash displacement in the event of an EV car. Obviously this technique will work on all vehicles, but today more specific with our EV vehicles. So as we look at the vehicle, let's just imagine this little square right here is our charging port. Many of the new EVs that are out there today have the charging port usually located in the front and a lot of times on the driver's side front area. What does that mean for us? The high voltage else is running through this area here and down into the A post to the batteries, which are located in the center. For us, we don't want to be cutting the orange wires. We need to avoid anything in this region. As we look inside this vehicle, you wouldn't see this unless you started opening up some compartments, but the orange line represents high voltage. Typically that would be running down from the charging locations to the batteries. All right, so if you were to peel away, you might notice this cable in the rocker panel plastic. And that's obviously the concern. So how can we achieve it a little bit different way without making a dash lift, without affecting anything in the A post? And that's what we're going to cover here shortly. So as we approach the vehicle, we're actually looking for all of our hazards and determine that this vehicle is an EV car and a candidate for a dash lift due to an entrapment. We'll begin any extrication, stabilization of the vehicle and securing it. Setting the parking brake, remove the key, make sure the vehicle's off. Followed by removing our glass throughout the vehicle. If you'll notice inside here, we have a sheet over our victim in order to protect them from all glass. As we begin a door removal, next we're going to begin removing all the glass. As we notice here, we have our victim covered with the sheet to protect them by placing a rescue inside the vehicle. Next, we'll be removing the door for access. Depending on the location of our victim and where we need to displace our dash, will be where we need to remove the windshield. We can use our typical Sawzall, Glassmaster, and in this particular demonstration, how the Halligan can be utilized to remove windshield. You can remove the entire windshield or simply an access point to the dash. This is where we're going to be making our cuts to displace this dash. As we continue removing the door, what we're looking to gain access to is the dash hanger, which is located directly under the dash and behind. Many different ways to achieve this: pry tools, Sawzall, cutters, and or the spreaders themselves, as you'll see each of them being utilized during this demonstration. Ultimately, we're making an exposure to get to that dash hanger. Depending on the vehicle, year, make, and model would depend on the type of dash hanger we're going to encounter. From a first generation, which is typically a welded system to the A post, to a second generation, which is typically bolted. Third is more of a solid member attached to the firewall. Our ultimate task is to gain access to the dash hanger and make our cut as close as we can to the A post. Now once we have the dash hanger exposed, we can use our cutters. Another option is the Sawzall. Our primary focus is to cut through completely the hanger, or at least partially, to break down the integrity. While this is going on, the second member of the crew is now going to get ready to start placing the spreaders in place. One thing you'll notice in this video, it's important to remember, having stabilization below the lift point, which is below the rocker panel, placing the bottom tips somewhere along the rocker panel, and the top tips are going to be placed up through the dash, ultimately making an impact with the dash hanger. As we displace this distance, ultimately we'll be beginning to make our lift. Remember, we're looking at an EV type style vehicle, so if you notice with this particular technique, we're not affecting the A-post. We have very minimal impact to the rocker panel, and the tip is always remain towards the rocker panel and not towards the center of the floorboard, where you may find typical batteries housed.